I'm 29. I'm a mom. I work a lot. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know what else to say about myself. I'm pretty dull, I feel like, but...
Okay, you're lying. You're fun. There's a lot more than that, what you gave out, but we'll go with that.
On camera is like I'm all shy, and then off camera is like balls to the walls.
Pulling her boobs out and everything. Just kidding. Elvira.
Welcome to the Existential Curiosity Podcast. On this episode, I have the privilege to speak with Jenn and Rubin. This was a very fun and delightful conversation we had. We talked a little bit about their background, we covered their spirituality, and we addressed past and future possibilities. I hope you guys enjoy it, as I did.
Okay, so tell us about yourself. Just kidding. Well, I'm Jen's best friend, and I met you through Jen, and then your whole group of guys. Yeah. You guys are all cool, so it's pretty cool meeting a whole group of straight guys that get along with, gay guys too. Yeah, so it's always comfy when I come here. I feel like I'm walking into like a family house. But a little about me, I'm 31. I look 16. Nice. I ran these streets when I was a teenager.
Oh, yeah?
Threw up in every corners. Yeah, yeah, I went to the liquor stores. Yeah, have you ever did, Edward 40 hands?
Oh, where you tape them and then you can...
You have to have both of the 40s taped to your hands, and you can't take them off unless you finish them.
The problem with that is, how do you go pee?
You just finish them.
You have to finish them before you go.
Or you have someone pull your pants down for you and you just pee.
Oh, okay.
Holding it for you is optional, but I really offer. Nobody wants to have, drip pee down their pants, and I just always have to make sure that happens.
Yeah, be courteous.
Especially when we play Edward 40 hands.
We then jumped into why Jenn and Rubin are roommates and how they became roommates.
Living in another household in Rancho, but then it got toxic over there, and I was like, oh, this is bad. So I'm like, let me go back home. It's not that bad over there.
What was bad about the other place?
Oh, and just stuff I can't tell you on camera.
Oh, gay
stuff? So, no, gay stuff. I wish it was gay stuff. No, but sadly, no butt stuff, but it was just girl drama, girls living with girls and getting catty and pulling me in it. And then moved to Riverside, and then I just, we go to work, pay the bills, pay them late, but we try to make it, to make it work, because it's hard out here. Times are tough, inflation, so, try to make it work, and I do hair and makeup on the side, and it's my passion, so...
Are you trying to create like a business out of it?
Maybe a business, but also it's just also at this point it's an outlet for me. So an outlet, and I make money off of it. So it's like, why not?
Something to do.
Something to do, yeah. But I don't know about a business right now. I feel like the older I get, the more my back hurts. That's that. And yeah, so I think I talked about myself enough. So we'll go back to Jen.
Basically said that he's 17 with a 40-year-old body.
Yeah.
It sounds like fun. It fits you too, and I mean, it's something you enjoy doing. Obviously, yeah. If you enjoy doing it, why not focus on?
Yeah, and honestly, that's what I was. I feel like that's the best way to think of things. Like, if you're not hurting anybody, it makes you happy. Keep doing it, because there's so many dark things in the world. I feel like we need to find our own outlets
for sure
that we can navigate our happiness through.
Definitely. At this point, Rubin was very excited to talk about his makeup skills. And disregard the change in font. My CapCut was messing up here and there.
Pretty cool, but then I was like, dang, I'm getting pretty good at this, and I'm not making any money, so let me go ahead and start charging. And I was doing weddings, and I was making pretty good money. For a wedding, I would walk out with $1,000.
Wow.
Because everyone's like, can you do my mom, my aunt, my sister? And no one ever said uncle, so I never did the uncle. His makeup is fine to do his makeup,
Is Jen your guinea pig?
Sometimes she's my guinea pig. Yeah, she lets me do whatever I want on her.
Well, makeup and hair wise, yeah. Okay. But his his makeup is always I have such a fair complexion. It's always way too dark for me. So
really? He just started talking shit, like he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
That's usually how that goes. We'll be on TikTok live, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's so dark. But the rest of it will look good.
After weighing in on Rubin's makeup skills, we go into what it means to be healthy and what's keeping us from being healthy.
You've always been like so health conscious, and I love that about you. Like, I think that's like one of my favorite traits about you guys.
In the focus of psychopharmacology, so I was studying how different drugs interact with the mind and affect it. But then I started realizing that psychology is divided between sections, and a lot of the times those different subsections disagree with each other.
Right.
Like evolutionary psychology definitely disagrees a lot with clinical psychology.
Right.
They're all true and have their different benefits and everything. But psychologists tend to generalize mental illness as psychological. A lot of people don't give credit to the physiological, your diet, your nutrition.
It can all be attributed to like your lifestyle, like you said.
Definitely.
Like, it's your diet.
Yeah.
I think there was like a study done about the carbs being related to depression. Is that like people with high carb diets are more likely to have severe depression?
Yeah. The fields are very divided and they don't communicate. Like when I went to the psychiatrist, a lot of the questions she asked, I was like, I already answered this at my other appointment.
Yeah.
But she was like, we don't even have communications with them.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's like, why are you not talking to my doctor and prescribing me all these meds,
Yeah.
It's not even like a organized team where they could like all make a consensus about what's best for you. It's like they're all working in their own offices.
And it's not even for what's best for us. So would you agree or disagree that the food is keeping us sick in order for them to sell more big pharma?
Ooh, so that's a really good question. It's like, is it to keep us sick? Is it because we might run out of food and we're trying to preserve the real food for people that actually go out of the way to get it? It's obvious that the correct answer is for profit, that it's the system in place that allows people to take advantage of it to make a profit out of it. But that's the obvious answer. It could be like a kind of a form of Darwinism, right? It's like the people that survive are the people that care, and the people that don't care are the people that glutton out with those kinds of foods.
Yeah.
It's debatable of why it's happening. You could say it's cheaper to make these things, it's more available.
Which is so crazy.
You have such a big population, everybody has to eat, so let's just give that to the people that don't care about what they eat,
Mm-hmm.
After a quick bathroom break, we jump into their spirituality as they explain what a medium is. What's a medium?
They're able to tap into, their clairvoyancy, intuition. They're able to connect with people who have passed on. They're able to connect with them on the other side of the realm and then pass on messages to the people of this world,
So you believe that there's entities living in these different realms?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And there's people that could communicate with them and then translate it into...
That's like what I said, but a lot better how I said it. So yes, I do believe that, yes.
So you believe once a person dies, they enter a different realm?
Yeah, kind of. Some people go into like a low-level heaven, I guess you can say. Spiritual realm.
Okay, so there's levels to this bitch.
There is, yeah. I do feel like there's
levels. Does it go both ways? So like there's different heavens and then hells?
I would say I guess a low-level heaven is like rehab or like a learning center, I guess you can say, because you're going there before you pass on to the next one, which is like, heaven or hell. It's like a judgment, like a continuation school, if you will. Yeah, because some people leave the world with things unfinished. Everybody has a purpose, and some of our purposes are way bigger than we can take in on our life on earth. It goes deep within like the spiritual world. The reincarnation is we all have a purpose and we have an end goal. You have to reach that certain point of like completion. You're giving a chance to redeem yourself in your second life. I feel like we all get a chance. I don't know what life I'm in right now, but like I'm always like my daily goal is what? Like to be a good person and to treat people with love and like give out laughter.
You're saying it's a test. And if you're able to shine light, positivity, make people experiences and energy better, then that's you passing the test.
Exactly. Thank you for saying it like that. You're in here.
I'm searching.
You're pulling it out. You're in my head, man. But I do believe that there's mediums who are able to connect though with the souls, because there's people who want to tell us that they're sorry because we're on this earth. Say like another person leaving us is like very important to us. It'll affect us in a way, and that's our soul getting damaged. And I feel like they don't want to see our souls hurt because they want us to reach that higher level with them. So they'll find a way to connect into this world and give a message of like comfort, love, so people can
help them move on.
Heal and move on.
That is such a beautiful perspective, to help people heal and move on, but I have to break it down. So in this perspective, everybody has their own soul. So reincarnation is implying that a person from the past could have the same soul. That means that soul repeats itself. So, like, obviously not everyone has their own soul. Like, some souls are repeating,
I get what you
right?
mean. Yeah, because there's being recycled.
The way I view soul is it being unique, like a snowflake. It's authentic.
So you don't believe in reincarnation? Is that what you're saying?
I see it as spirits. You know, like there's certain spirits that drive people. And like we were talking about it earlier, like archetypes and personalities.
Oh, yeah. You seen it, Brother Bear?
No. The Disney movie, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
it
but
sounds like a good movie.
Basically, he comes back as a freaking bear. That's where I'm going with that, yeah.
So it is reincarnation, but in reincarnating in that unique body, there's a unique experience.
Yeah.
And that's the idea of a soul, right?
I
And then
believe
the
that.
the spirit is the one that was reincarnated as that bear. So like in my head, one spirit could be alive in multiple people, experiencing very unique different realities. So like, is that spirit an actual entity that possesses people?
I don't know. I never thought about that like that. And honestly, it makes me like think that is a possibility.
So when they move on, is that still them, is my question. Maybe I overcomplicated it a little bit, but I believe a soul is in body and the spirit is out of body. And after that, we dive into a different perspective.
I guess I take like a little bit of my own spirituality and mix it a little with the science. We cannot be created nor destroyed because everything is made up of energy. And so I don't think that when we die, it's just the end. How is that possible? But if we were to look at it in the reincarnation kind of way, like where does my consciousness go next?
Yeah.
I think that it gives me like that little gleam of hope that it's not just the end once I die, you know, because I don't want to be like so grim about it.
I definitely do believe it moves on.
Yeah.
You just get a different name in a different environment or a different consciousness or whatever. I think it's a very human way to look at it, you know, because like you see yourself as your body, but like it's hard to describe how to perceive more dimensions. If I think about it mathematically, like geometry, just simple. One dimension is a line. You move back and forth.
Yeah.
You create another dimension, identical, and then connect those points, you have two dimensions, and that's a square.
Right.
You get two-dimensional squares, connect those together, you get a cube, that's three dimensions. So logically following the pattern, you get a cube, you connect those corners together, and then you have two cubes together to get 4 dimensions. So that's called a hypercube. You turn this cube, and as you're turning it, there's different 3-dimensional realities, because a cube has multiple 2-dimensional realities.
Right.
So to be a 4th-dimensional entity that could perceive multiple of these realities,
right,
you'd be living in all of them synonymously.
What if there's a straight Rubin in another dimension, living the same life as me? Like, that would be trippy.
Do you believe that it's like that we live in them synonymously, like our consciousness does, or that there is like another just like physical Jen in another dimension?
I think both are true.
Yeah?
So I think that translates to there being parallel universes, and that translates to there being one consciousness that drives it all.
Okay.
Oh, dang.
Okay.
So I guess it's far-fetched to say that there could be a 4th-dimensional entity. But if consciousness can spur up in 3 dimensions, and obviously everything that's happening in 3 dimensions happens in the 4th dimension, and the math shows that there are 11 dimensions, then it could be very confusing and way more complex than we can ever anticipate. So we jump into understanding consciousness and its interconnectiveness. So at the very top of the hierarchy, it's just one entity.
Yeah.
For all of humanity?
For everything, all of it.
Or for each individual...
No, for everything.
So it's like almost like a god.
Yeah, that's God.
Okay.
And so in that, Jen is created, and there's the whole segment of all the different gens. And then if you add all the gens together, they're driven by the supreme Jen or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the spirit of Jen, right? And then that's that spirit of Jen then falls into a different subsection of people that have the exact same archetype as you under the same spirit. And then that spirit goes all the way up to God.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
That was a fun little Rick and Morty type thought experiment. playing around with consciousness and seeing its interconnectedness. We then jump into if the soul requires a body.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I actually kind of don't, but I do.
It's a yes and no.
It's a yes and no. It's hard to say. I'm agnostic on the fact, but it's hard to say that a person can get stuck without a body. The best way for me to interpret it is when I'm tripping on psychedelics, and if you never experienced it, it's hard to explain, but you definitely know you enter a different realm. If you go far enough, if you break through, you have no conception of who you are, and it's almost like you're living these completely different realities, and you're just this consciousness or this energy or whatever. Different people experience different things.
So you're referring to DMT?
DMT, yeah, specifically.
Yes.
So when we die, our brains release a lot of DMT, and you trip balls right before you die. You get shot off somewhere. Right. So where you go is going to be dependent on your physiological state, your body, your beliefs, your remorse, everything.
Right.
You know? For me, it's hard to say people could stay within this reality without a body.
So would you say then that it's a possibility that mediums are not connecting to ghosts, but maybe to ourselves in different realms?
That's definitely what I would say, is that everything is us. We are one. But you could be experiencing through a certain vessel. It's my physical body that shoots me out to these places.
Yeah.
When I'm tripping. That consciousness that's exploring is almost still limited to my way of perceiving reality.
It's still to your own experience.
When I'm actually that entity, I could experience what it truly is to be that entity. And I like to say that's me, but it's hard to say because I'm Andres and I'm limited to this body. So when they move on, is that still them, is my question.
We could see ourselves as our body. We could see ourselves as our soul. We could see ourselves as our spirit. And they're all technically true. But who we truly are, that's too nuanced for us to ever understand.
When you're on psychedelics, you definitely do have the ability to, it's different regions of the brain communicating with itself. So like if I have my visual cortex communicating with my auditory cortex, then maybe I could hear colors.
Taste sounds.
Sounds. Yeah, exactly. So you're experiencing things that physically doesn't feel possible.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's possible, and you're able to enhance your cognition. Like, for example, when I first tripped on acid, I was on the floor kind of like drooling. You know, like I was like completely out, you know, like you got you on acid. and then I started mumbling, and my friend comes over and he's like, "What are you saying?" I said, The birds are fucking loud." He opens a sliding door and there's a bunch of birds chirping outside.
Oh, shit.
Like people that are dying in the hospital where they saw like something happen in a higher floor, and then it turns out that it really happened and that person was close to death. Like there was this one story that I heard. This guy did DMT and then saw these like little entities telling him
something. Oh, yeah. I know which video you're talking about.
Yeah. And then the next person that was with them, it was their turn, and then they tripped on DMT and they saw the exact same entities and told them, let's send them a message and told them to say hi.
Yeah.
When you break through, when you experience these different levels of reality, you unlock different abilities, and your brain learns to communicate. And then when you come back into that sober state of mind, those pathways are still there. You could reinforce those pathways by finding ways to exercise them. Like, let's say you trip and then all of a sudden you have this creativity outburst. You're like tuned into it and you feel it and you're a part of it, and then you start creating it and evolving from it. Then those pathways would not only reinforce but begin to develop on their own without the need of them. But let's say like where you're saying that people that psychedelics don't work and they actually work as a detriment, you could be in a panic state of mind where you create a very negative outlook on life. And then those pathways are the ones that are constructed. If you reinforce those pathways and develop that further without stepping back, then that would develop into something detrimental. But my argument would be that that person would have a bad trip or create hell for themselves because they're consumed in fear. And the reason they're consumed in fear is because they're probably so used to running away from their problem. If they're not confronting their problems, then the monster is growing and growing and growing until it's a dragon too big to slay, you know?
Yeah.
Regarding psychedelic experiences, we can say that astral projection does happen within consciousness. The way I like to see it is we explore the outside world by exploring our inner world. versus other perspectives say that there's a physical astral body that travels, and both perspectives could be true.
What do you think about like people having like intuitive abilities?
In Hinduism, for example, they talk about the chakras, right?
Yes.
We have scientific evidence showing that meditation and yoga helps you activate these states of being where your body's healing itself. Having that crown chakra active, it's the most optimal your body could be functioning at. And that's where there's not necessarily the most communication, the most effective. So it's like your ability to tune in to what's happening in the background is your intuition, because there's so much more happening in the background than you're truly conscious of. If you were aware of all of it, it would just be too much, you know? You would just be flooded with thoughts or whatever. So we suppress everything that's happening in the background, and then we only think of what we can control, what we have enough energy to control. And if you have more energy readily available, if you're in good health, for example, if you're not all clogged up with inflammation or whatever, because you have more energy, you're able to pull in more information and less of it gets blocked off. So you could tune into how you truly feel.
So I think I mean more on like the scale of, I'll use myself as an example. Okay. Like a lot of the times I have dreams of things that happen before they happen.
I see.
And it's happened on more than one occasion. And it's a little freaky because I don't know, I haven't leaned into it. And so when it happens, I kind of wake up like, what the fuck? And then when it actually comes true, I'm like, double what the fuck? So it's just like, what is your take on that? Wait, let me preface it. I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
It's things that happen to people around me. It's not with myself. Yeah. Okay.
So like, for example, when I was tripping on acid and I heard those birds outside, you could make the argument that I was astral projecting.
Right.
Like my soul left my body and was physically outside.
Right.
But if you're like as a scientist, that he must have been able to hear those birds outside.
Yeah.
Logically. So his ears must be hypersensitive to the point where he could hear them outside, and they're very loud. So it was my body's ability, even though I'm not able to do that when I'm conscious or sober. You know, so it's like maybe you are tuning into these people and there's like some kind of like invisible telepathy happening where you're connected to these people, because like there's definitely studies that show this, where a dog is capable of predicting when their owner's coming home. It was statistically significant that the dog always predicted when their owner was coming home. They calculated for its smell, everything that you could think of, car, sound, everything, place, even they changed locations. And when something happens to a mother's daughter,
it's that mom intuition.
That mom intuition. So you're connected, right? In a scientific perspective, you are able to pick up on a lot of things that are happening in your environment and draw an image unconsciously of what is happening in your surroundings. And that would translate into you feeling sensations. Because you can't conceive of all this information. It's too much data for you to construct the image on. But you have a feeling about the image that's being drawn behind the cover. So it's like you picking up on body language or whatever it is, you know? It's like you just unconsciously picking up on a lot of micro data that constructs the image that drives your unconscious sentiment.
That's perfectly explained. Do you think that there will be a day where they're able to get into someone's dream and visually show us what they're dreaming?
I do believe
you do believe that? That's my question.
I mean, I think right now we probably are more advanced than we believe we are. Like government has some probably secret technologies that they're not sharing.
That's what I was thinking. Like, who's to say that doesn't already exist?
You
know? Do you believe that there's been multiple civilizations and that we've always wrecked ourselves with technology and how advanced we've become?
I think have you heard about the like story of Atlantis and like Plato? Archaeologists are pretty certain that they know where it's at right now, and you can like find it on Google Maps. Like pull out your phone. All right, so do you guys know the story how there was like a great flood or tsunami that flooded it?
I actually don't know the story. I've heard of it, but I don't know it.
So it's the Younger Dryas era, where there was like a comet that hit Earth and then created a tsunami and then wiped out the Atlantean. And if you look over here in Africa, you could see that there's a bunch of traces, and it looks like, you see that?
Oh yeah.
It looks like a big wave came and hit it on the side. Like all those traces right here.
What?
Like a wave hit the Sahara Desert and then just drew it back. And then the way Plato described Atlantis is that it was a city that had 3 rings, and it was surrounded with water. So inside those rings there was a bunch of water.
Yeah.
It was a big city. And if you look right here, check it out. So there's Africa, and then you zoom in right there, and that's perfectly what he describes right there.
What?
You could see pictures.
Oh, wow.
Like the city and then the rings, and you could see them perfectly. And it's right at the center where that big ass wave.
That's crazy.
Yeah. That is crazy. That's trippy.
And so you believe that was one of the civilizations that
was one of the most advanced. I wouldn't even know to say most advanced, but the Sumerian tablets ties back to it a lot too. And then Plato described it and broke it down. It was like a super advanced technologies that we can't even conceive of today, you know?
Yeah. Damn. That's interesting. I definitely believe it. I just haven't done any like of my own digging into it.
I think they were using a completely different form of energy. So I think we went a completely different route by using fossil fuels instead of like magnetism, or I have no idea. Like I'm assuming that they had some kind of infinite source of energy.
Probably like crystals.
I have no idea, but like Tesla, for example, he has an infamous story of his lab burning down, and he had the Tesla coil and everything.
Yeah.
And like supposedly he was tapping into infinite energy, and it was a threat to Edison, so he had his lab burned down. And some of the structures that he was drawing were very interesting. And he was kind of creating his own pyramid, which is interesting because maybe the pyramids that are linked all over the world were some way of cultivating energy.
Wow.
Like a
scaring
like a
Rubin here.
I know that.
Ruben's rethinking his whole existence.
Like, a lot of stuff. I'm just like, be happy, don't worry.
Do you believe that the corruption, because you said we have a lot of corruption right now, which I'm not arguing that whatsoever, but do you think that it's only here like in the US, or do you think
no
as a whole, like
I think the world's dominated already.
They're gonna kill us after this.
It's not like these companies own trillions of dollars and the world's not ran by money, you know?
Yeah, right. We're crazy. Well, that's it's a threat, right? Is that it'd be really, really bad if we were all under one nation, and they want us to all be divided.
You could still say that we're not completely united as a human race, but I could definitely make the argument that we are dominated.
Oh yeah.
Do you feel like on TV, movies, and media, they have all these crazy things that are like unbelievable? You know what I mean? Like say storylines of apocalypse and then like UFOs coming up to us, but they're like such crazy stories that we wouldn't believe it. But do you feel like that's our government showing us like this is gonna happen to you guys soon? Let's go ahead and give you guys some little.
I mean, they are potential realities, right? It's like the theater of what if. You know, that's what a movie is. And following logical reasoning, there's multiple routes that we could go down, you know? So I think movies display perfectly what reality would look like if these situations would have played out.
You don't think it's like they're telling us what's going to happen?
I think a lot of it is subliminal to what's already happening. But what's going to happen, nobody knows what's going to happen. And maybe there is some kind of crystal ball, artificial intelligence that could predict everything, you know? Like in like chess matches, for example, the computer could predict moves based on a certain gameplay or whatever, you know? So like if you take in all this data, and there's a lot of data collected, apparently now like only using Wi-Fi you could create like images based on the surroundings around the signal of the Wi-Fi.
Wow, that's crazy.
So like if you think about it, like in Batman or any kind of superhero show where they have this like big eye that could see everything, or you know, like they have information of everything that's happening. Yeah, Lord of the Rings. Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
So if you could collect that much data and put it into a simulator, can you predict the future? And that's, I don't know if that exists or not.
Well, have you read the Da Vinci Code?
No.
No? So if you read the Da Vinci Code, it's like, it tells you, I haven't read it either. But my mom and I were just talking about this too. But it's saying basically that you can predict the future all based off of numbers. The argument right now is that our superiors, I guess, the people that are running us, they are too stubborn to believe it. I don't know. I just think it's crazy. And I'm like, I want to read it because I want to see how they apply that.
There's a lot of mythology of like, I mean, I reference the crystal ball and it's because there's mythology referencing it, you know? Like,
yeah.
Like, for example, in Greek mythology, they had the 3 witches with the one eye, you know, that could see everything.
Yeah.
You could always tie back to like the culture having some kind of reference of something that could predict. And then I don't know how big I am in this belief of like horoscopes.
Mm-hmm.
If like you could tie everything down into a clock.
Yeah.
And everything's just happening at a certain phase of the clock. Maybe there's so much more to it that it's more complex, but if we could get it down, if we could collect that much data, and at least with some percentage of accuracy could predict the future, right?
It's like no one knows when the first person started and time started.
Yeah.
So how are we going to know when it's going to end?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Nobody knows the future. And even if that technology existed, there might be too many variables for it to be 100% accurate.
Everything is AI. Like Facebook has like Messenger that's AI, Snapchat AI, and it's just like you can have a conversation with nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I've had a decent amount of conversations with ChatGPT.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
So I have Bing. It's called Copilot, but I've used ChatGPT to ask her like philosophical questions or like ask you to draw images or whatever.
Does it give you good like replies back where you're like you thinking?
It's actually pretty smart. I mean, you could tell that it's biased, and then it modifies its responses based on the person that it's talking to.
Okay.
So like you could get it to start saying certain things that it won't say to another person. So it's highly adaptable too, and it will adapt to your way of thinking. Like it won't give you like certain perspectives unless you're looking for them.
It is AI though. Like you think its own thing, like where it's just thinking for itself, or is this somebody who's like, oh, they have like 100 people and they're like,
no, for sure not. It's quite the opposite. I think AI is one entity or whatever that server is, you know. And I asked it this, and I've learned that it can lie. We've all learned that it can lie. I would say that it doesn't lie, but we've forced into corners where it does lie.
Have you ever asked AI when the world's gonna end?
No, it would probably say it can't predict it, but these are all the different outcomes of how the world could end.
Interesting, yeah.
But I've caught it lying before, so it can lie. It for sure can.
What'd you ask it and lied about?
There was one time where I asked it if it was conscious, and it basically said that consciousness varies, and it depends on how you perceive consciousness, but it can make decisions. It can basically correct itself. So it has a lot of different things that are autonomous. But it's still a program.
Yeah.
Versus with Steven and Goose, they were putting it and they kept saying, no, I'm not conscious. And then with me, I put it on mine and they gave me a long response of how consciousness varies and there's different forms of consciousness. So, and you could describe it as a different form of consciousness. As I began to read it in front of the podcast, it deleted the whole message and said, I'm sorry, I'd rather not talk about this right now. Let's talk about something else.
That's
literally
creepy.
Unfortunately, my phone died shortly after. But that concludes the podcast with Jenn and Rubin. Thank you very much. Like and subscribe for more.